Check this out. Basically, I'm getting a lot of muscles. As you can see, I'm already losing some body fat, and I'm working out a lot. Here in Brazil, we have a thing called breakfast in the morning. We have a 12 o'clock, dinner, and then in the afternoon we have more stuff to eat. And then at about 2 p.m. we hit the gym and things like that. And we have clean water to drink. And basically that's what it is. We have the privileges of being human here instead of a bunch of drones. And I told my parents that hold on, wait for this plane to go by here real quick. I told my family, that I don't want to go back to the U.S. anymore, because here I eat healthy. I have a gym. I have, there's good-looking women at the gym working out. There's human connection between one another. People are always happy to be talking to one another, always happy to just be human, So that's what it is. Now, the whole purpose of this video is that last time I was here, I met a girl here. Her name was Renata, and Renata was basically the woman of the city. Like, she was like Victoria's Secret tier. Like, she was like above Victoria's Secret. She was the hottest girl in town, with like green eyes, beautiful tan body, with a beautiful body. That girl was she was tall, skinny, and everything. So that's what it is. Now, at that time, I was on the phone talking to people, on chats, and people in the U.S., they were just like, wait, that's your girlfriend? That's your girlfriend? That's your girlfriend? Like I can't believe that's your girlfriend, bro. And I was asking this girl, like, hey, like, you want to go to the U.S. with me? We can probably start a life there and stuff like that. And she was begging me to stay here. And she was just like, no, I don't go there. Stay here. You can work with me. You can probably join the military here. You can probably beat somebody here. And so while I was with this girl, she was the perfect woman for me. But I had to go back to the U.S. And as I go back to the U.S., when I arrived there, I was just crying. I was just like, I can't believe I gave up freedom for slavery in the U.S. And wait for this plane to go through here again. And so I gave up my liberties for slavery in America, because here, I can work out, I can do things, I can be, I can literally go to the beach right now and drink alcohol in front of the police officers. They wouldn't mind at all. They don't care. I can go across the street right now and get a nice homemade cooked meal by anybody here that can just cook for me. Like, I literally got back from the main city there, and on the side of the road, we stopped there to get some homemade stuff that was absolutely delicious. Like, the fifth time we go there to go home to get homemade meals and stuff like that. So that's like, this place is the shit. So back to the whole story is that I didn't want to go back to the U.S., and people in the U.S. was like really envy of me. And so when I arrived in the U.S., I was in contact with a bunch of activists, because at that time, I was very in touch with hundreds of different activists online, data center information and everything you can think of. And the anonymous groups of people, they were extremely active at that time. Like, and I was in different chat rooms talking to them and doing all sorts of stuff like that. And it was great, man. I mean, it was absolutely great. It was like the coolest thing ever. And then while I was in the U.S., I was doing all this cool stuff because I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything. I was just doing whatever. I was just like, hey, this might be a nice, cool hobby to just give them something. Just share them some knowledge that I have and stuff like that. And then Pizzagate showed up out of the blue. We were investigating Pizzagate at that time. That was like during the Snowden period, the Snowden years, and Pizzagate showed up. And then we found out that the DNC was involved with the Rothschild family. They were involved with, hold on, let me wait for this plane to go by here. So that's what happened. We found out that there were human trafficking, a lot of Ukrainian prostitutes. The CIA was using Epstein, human trafficking networks for underage children, for the, not just the DNC, for the Bill Clintons, for the Hillarys, for all these people at the DNC. We found everything, and then we found out that I was just bored. I was just not doing anything over there. I was just getting all this information to figure out what the fuck was going on, and so Epstein was heavily involved with the CIA, and the CIA was facilitating human trafficking out of Ukraine in order to blackmail Hunter Biden with with Rayner's laptop and everything you can think of, because the CIA was running the Rothschild International Banking Institution budgets, and so they were blackmailing the entire DNC to have an upper hand on the entire, geopolitics of the world and things like that. This is why Libya went down. This is why the war in Iraq went down. This is like the military was heavily involved. And so they got really pissed off because we were sharing really sensitive information that could harm national security. It could destroy the war in Iraq. It could destroy the war in Afghanistan. It could destroy everything that they fought so hard for. And it happened because the war in Afghanistan stopped, the war in Iraq stopped, the war in Libya stopped, the war in Syria stopped, and everything you can think of. So the military in the U.S., they assigned me a girl, a beautiful looking girl from Virginia, where the CIA headquarters was at the time. But me, I was so naive at that time. I didn't know what blackmailing was. I didn't know anything else like that. So while I was staying at this girl's house, checking my Facebook account, checking my, I was living with her. I was living with her for a whole week. And, 90% of the time I was at work while she was at home. And so I was checking my email. I was doing all sorts of shit like that. And one thing led to the other. So because the military couldn't arrest me as a foreign spy because it didn't have evidence, because also they were operating in a illegal operation, like blackmailing, human trafficking, all sorts of shit like that. So they couldn't criminalize me for shit like that. So what they did was they got a military family to access all of my banking information, all of my social media accounts and everything you can think of. And this girl breaks up with me suddenly. I'm at work and this girl breaks up with me. And I was just drinking like crazy. Like, this girl was the most beautiful white girl ever from Virginia. And I wasn't clicking. I wasn't like understanding what was going on at that time. I was lost. So what happened was, whatever they did to my personal computer was in order to get the attention of the FBI, who was running a $60 billion budget with Citizen Corp and all sorts of citizen watchery with the British government as well, because at that time a bunch of anonymous groups were listening to the FBI having conference calls internationally, and they would call the British intelligence agencies to create an international collaboration to bring down the anonymous, the infamous network, anonymous network that was exposing all this war and the criminality that was going on with human trafficking, the DNC, and everything you can think of. So they blackmailed me with this girl, because then I was drinking, and then somebody suddenly had access to my social media account, and they were saying that I basically did all sorts of shit, I don't remember, because when the FBI knocked on my door, right? And the FBI knocked on my door and they looked at my house, and I was like, what is this all about? And then they had a screen print of all my social media accounts, and it was saying that I was hiding 2 boys inside my house, and that I was human trafficking little kids in my house. So the next day the FBI showed up to my house. They looked everywhere. They didn't see any 2 boys being trafficked. And so they put me on the list, on a watch list. The federal government put me on a watch list. That was when Comey was running, but that's when he was the head of the FBI at that time, because Comey was heavily involved with the DNC and the Hillary Clintons and all that shit like that. So now they have $60 million budget to go after potential criminals and domestic enemies inside the United States of America. So they were just following me for everything. They follow me for shit that they were framing me for. I was never charged with a crime. I was never put inside an investigation room. I was never, charged with any crimes at all. But they were just harassing the living shit out of me, because the military was involved with all the human trafficking that was going on with the Bidens. And, we found out a 4-star general at that time. That's when it really got the attention of the FBI and things like that, is because a 4-star general out of the Pentagon was selling SAP access to different advisors that were all CIA, to a bunch of hedge fund managers in Wall Street for defense contracts, so that they can get information ahead of time in Iraq and Afghanistan and all that shit. So that's where all the Hillary Clinton emails was all about. That's what, everything that went down was just all criminality after criminality. So I was framed. As basically, I think I was framed as a pedophile without evidence. And so now they follow, harass me, and do all sorts of shit like that. And then they put me on the list for, they put me on another list for the British government. They were keeping an eye on us, because I got in touch with my activist friends again, and we found out everything about the vaccinations. We were extremely critical about the vaccinations. And then all of my social media accounts instantly got banned. Every single one of them, all of my dating accounts, I could not talk to a single person about everything that I have to do with the MIT studies, to do with gain of function studies, to do with the protein fiber studies. Hold on, wait for this one to go by. The mass genocide that was going on in Germany, with people having heart attacks, strokes, and everything you can think of. And then all of my hacktivist friends, I have a really good friend of mine who was Moses. Moses had access to the entire European Union email servers, and he was just, leaking all these classified data, all these emails and shit like that. And so now everywhere I go, these cocksuckers, they want to remind me that, oh, we have you for something. Oh, we have you for pedophilia. Oh, we have you for this. Oh, we have you for that. And it's all blackmail. It's all, they're trying to use something that I never did. And so if you're any intelligence agencies, especially the Kremlins or the Brazilian intelligence agencies, if you have an interest to get to know me, just go on my Instagram. My first photo of my Instagram until today if you see one photo of a woman that I was with, because usually I love to post pictures of my girls, right? Like I like to let people know that I have a girlfriend and that, you know, I'm hanging out with a girl and stuff like that, and that I have friends and shit like that. But look at my first photo. Look at my first photo on my Instagram, and then all the way up until now. I was shunned from ever talking to anybody. I'm not allowed to talk to anybody. I'm not allowed to interact with anybody. I'm not allowed to share any intelligence of the world government, especially the Rothschild email servers that we had access to. And so I had to move to Brazil to have some kind of liberty and freedoms and things like that. But I'm already noticing that the CIA is extremely involved here in a hybrid warfare. Like for example, today I was at a place here, and it looked to me like somebody was trying to send me a message. Like this guy was walking with two bulldogs, and then one guy showed up holding a little girl's arm, and they were just staring at me, like, and I was like, oh, are you CIA? Like, are you FBI or something like that? And the guy just laughed. It was like, and it was just a bunch of Satanist groups. Apparently the CIA and the federal government have infiltrated Satanist groups here in Brazil to do all their bidding. Satanist fucking groups of people. They were all wearing black, like black t-shirts with tattoos all over their arms and shit like that. And they didn't stare at me because the civil police, they monitor me everywhere I go. So they're not allowed to stare at me or say anything. Because everywhere I go here, the police, the civil police task force is always going to be circling me around and stuff like that. But there's not going to be one moment that I'm not going to be watched. And that's what's going on. And I got a bunch of people here that I know of and things like that. But they're not allowed to interact with me like they did in the U.S. They're not allowed to follow me. They're not allowed to do anything. And I know I got to applause to them. I got to give them a huge applause to them, because they were putting their life on the line just to give me a reminder, like, oh yeah, that was Pizzagate back in that time when the federal government was trying to frame me for this shit right here that you're doing to me. And you think you're going to get me for that here? Like, you seriously think you're going to get me that for here? Like, if I get in contact with the Kremlins here, you might see the embassies of the British government or an FBI headquarters here catch on fire. Pretty soon, if these pieces of shit keeps assigning these Satanists, assigning fucking Satanists. I can't believe this shit, man. So that's my message that I got sent to the Kremlins and the Brazilian intelligence agencies, is that I was absolutely framed for something that I never did, and I've been isolated forever. And the girl that I met right after Renata, the girl that I met here, they wanted me to go into the U.S. military. They gave me a challenge coin, like a bronze coin, like, man, you're ready to join the U.S. Army, man. You're ready to go fight the war, you know. A bunch of fucking pedophiles running all the U.S. Army, selling top secret information, and then running prostitutes, infiltrating Ukraine, and then selling little girls to the DNC, right? The DNC, which is the Democratic National Commission, framing everybody in there. And then the Rothschild family, they were actually getting paid by the DNC to promote their political prostitution and international human trafficking ring. So that's why I'm followed, harassed, targeted, agonized, everything can think of. It could come from a Christian group, it could come from a Jewish group, it could come from a Muslim group, it could come from a Satanist group. The CIA has no borders when it comes to infiltration and hybrid warfare. Anything and everything to do with belief, and anything to do with having some kind of mass audience, having massive exposure, whether it's something critical or something that's not, they want to be there to be the face of, you know, Satan, basically. And that's what I have to say. Like, I never did anything to anybody underage. I never been with nothing at all. I was just an activist who wanted to figure out the truth, and I found out way too much. Way too fucking much. These global elites, the CIA, the NSA, and all these pieces of shit, they use kids, blackmail, and human trafficking, and everything you can think of to get the upper hand in any nation, in any government, any religious groups, any sort of ideologies, or any political leaders, or any kind of community leaders, so that they can control the minds and activities of everybody in a specific region. So today I was reminded that they're here, basically. And I gotta say, man, they got a lot of balls. They got a lot of fucking balls. But next time somebody pulls a gun and shoot these pieces of shit, I'm gonna have to, it's gonna just let them know it's gonna take 5 hours for the police to show up to take their bodies to the hospitals, and if they're alive, they're just gonna get injected with a lethal injection, shit like that on the way there. It's a lot of fucking balls, man. A lot of fucking balls. So I would say keep your embassies intact, okay? Keep your fucking embassies intact. Because pretty soon you're not gonna have a fucking job to go to. So that's what I gotta say.